Back in the mid to late 90s, first-person shooters were a moment that I wished I could have been a part of. But I was born just as these shooter games were changing course. Many of these first-person shooters were fun not just in single-player, but also in multiplayer mode. They are known for their high-octane, fast-paced gameplay. However, I will say that I grew up on these classics, since I did not have any access to recent games or the hardware capable. My parents were also using their Xbox 360s, while I was playing on the PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox. On the PC side, I only had access to a Pentium 3 and my mother's office PC, which had a Pentium 4. There were no graphics cards, save for Intel's integrated GPUs. I didn't even get my first graphics card until somewhere in 2011 when I convinced my parents to give me a decently suitable graphics card for my just purchased copy of Unreal Tournament 3. Anyway, these shooters were commonly referred to as arena shooters, but here's how I view it. An arena shooter is a first-person shooter that focuses on a more refined multiplayer experience, such as Quake 3 Arena and Unreal Tournament. While most shooters such as Doom and Quake have similar vibes back then, I wouldn't necessarily call them arena shooters, but rather just first-person shooters, or what most people call boomer shooters. Now, as time passes by, high-octane action is starting to die out in favor of a more slower and tactical gameplay flow, with the likes of Counter-Strike for instance. This game is kinda intriguing to me since I first learned about it through the Xbox port. I enjoyed the setting, but the gameplay turned me off as a kid since I was too used to the sensation Doom and Quake offered. Not only that, but as the late 2000s approached, I began to lose interest in first-person shooters that were released at the time. I faintly recall being excited for the new Wolfenstein game that would be released in 2009, but when I saw my father playing it on his Xbox 360, I was put off since it appeared rather dull to me. This was also at a time when I lost internet access due to school bullfuckery, but by the end of 2010, I had regained internet access and went on a downloading spree for the games I wanted to play again. For many years, I've kept to the classics with which I was most familiar with. I was never interested in the more popular games of the moment, such as Call of Duty. My school buddies used to make fun of me for not loving those games. Let's just say they're not actually friends. One of them even threatened to bash my teeth out because we had an argument one day and I even vented about it on my WordPress. Well, maybe you should have focused on working on your typing abilities instead of slandering me for something that happened many years ago, yada yada yada. Well, anyways, enough of that. The main aim of this video is to discuss the ongoing discussion regarding whether arena shooters are a dead genre or not. Now, here is my opinion on the subject, and please take it with a grain of salt if necessary. In terms of mainstream popularity, yes, it is essentially dead. It's been declining since the launch of Counter-Strike, but I remained loyal to what I liked. However, I didn't feel the need for a better computer until Epic Games announced a public alpha test for a brand new Unreal Tournament game. I was very excited about it since Unreal was and is one of my favorite franchises of all time. But it all came crumbling down when they abandoned development in favor of a battle royale game called Fortnite. It is actually reasonable to assume that my young self did not take this lightly. I would go crazy on social media, expressing my disgust with the game and the impact it had on many people. Man, if I hadn't matured nowadays, I would have just said that this game fucking sucks rancid dick, and the people playing it is a waste of. But as I've gotten older, my hate for Fortnite has subsided a little bit. I don't mind others playing it as long as they don't force it down my throat like another Windows versus Linux elitist flame war. But anyway, getting sessions for classic shooters and arena shooters is pretty difficult, because people are accustomed to picking it up and joining a random lobby. And if they load up Quakeworld, for example, they will either see hordes of deathmatch bots or few to no human players. and as a result, many will think that the genre has died. But I will tell you, it is not as dead as you believe it is. It's just that getting into matches works kinda differently now than it did back in the past. You can even join a variety of gaming communities that arrange game events on platforms such as Discord. In my video, I discussed how I was able to play these games more frequently. Now, of course, another reason why these games are no longer popular is that they can be difficult for beginners. Now, as somebody who has gotten their ass kicked for 10 plus years, I can understand why people are often turned off. I mean, sure, you can see me tearing some of my friends a new one, but I still have my holes resized by somebody who has been playing these games since they first came out. This is apparently due to the fact that there is a skill ceiling in many games, as well as the discovery and use of new mechanics. With the likes of rocket jumping and bunny hopping, these mechanics were put into good use by the esports community. The skill ceiling is quite high, and in order to reach the level of a professional gamer, you must play more regularly and devote more time into learning how these mechanics function and develop the necessary abilities. And yes, that means you will need to develop a mindset of getting your ass kicked on a regular basis, and I mean quite frequently. To make matters worse, there are certain communities and types of people that like to show off their gaming skills and will not bother assisting a newcomer. Not even basic advice. However, not everyone is like this. I have a friend who is really skilled at Doom 2 Deathmatch, and he has helped me improve my deathmatch abilities. I continued to duel him, and he even gave me advice. He even instructed me not to get irritated while playing since it would make me rusty. He also told me once that he wanted to see me improve, and that still motivates me to this day. Maybe one day I'll provide some advice on how I improved in Blood multiplayer. I mean, sure, I'm not as skilled as somebody like Maligned or OCP Jr., but I think it will still be enough to assist somebody to get on their feet when getting into Blood multiplayer. Now, that being said, I believe arena shooters are not fully dead. They are just simply less popular than they were in the past. But I will say, if you're just looking to get started with these types of games, I would suggest trying out Quake Champions, since I feel it is more active. However, if you want to play something more older, consider joining the DOSBox Deathmatch Club. I mean, sure, we're not really a competitive community because we love these games more casually, but I believe it is more welcoming to people who are just starting out, and I will be happy to provide advice that has benefited me. Anyway, I believe that wraps up this video. Please feel free to ask me for advice in the comment section down below. And as always, peace out.